Roll call.
Chisel. Zittergrun. Steve Zittergrun.
Here.
Neil.
Here.
Hadley.
Here.
Carlson.
Here.
Johnson. Here. Luce.
Here.
Is there anybody who wishes to come before the City Council on items that are not on the agenda? Seeing none, hearing none. Consent agenda?
Mayor, you have Carly Hayden Foster under public comments speaking about the MEU task force.
Oh, I apologize, Carly. Sorry about that.
That's all right. I didn't say aye because I was on the agenda, so I figured you'd get to me.
You're okay. You're okay. Report from the MEU task force. Carly.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Carly. I am the chair of the newly established Municipal Electric Utility Task Force, and so I'm just writing to update on our progress so far. And so we have had 3 meetings so far. We have done things like divide ourselves into subcommittees. We've got a learning, education, and outreach subcommittee. We've got a feasibility study subcommittee. We've got a grants and funding subcommittee. And I did turn in a written report, so that is attached in the materials that are available. The learning, education, and outreach committee is, at this point, it's Mark Lovelace and Karen McLean. They have been working on making contact with various constituencies throughout Decorah, just asking questions, trying to figure out what people want to know about a potential municipal electric utility. And so they've been engaging in outreach. They will, at some point later on, transition to doing public events, but that's really not feasible at this point. So mostly they've been making phone calls. We have a feasibility study subcommittee, as is established in our charge from the City Council. We were asked to commission a MEU feasibility study to be completed by the fall of 2021. We may or may not reach that deadline, but that subcommittee is taking steps towards progress on that. And so the feasibility subcommittee is Doug Hamilton, Christine Jepson, Andy Johnson, and Larry Grimstad. And then we have a grants and funding subcommittee. That's Christine Jepson, Larry Grimstad, and myself. Primarily Christine has been working on identifying funding sources. She has a rural business development grant that is at the very end of your agenda, I believe, the City Council agenda. So we've been working on trying to identify funding sources that would potentially save the City Council some money down the road when we eventually get to the point where we're ready to commission a feasibility study. Our duties, we are working towards the feasibility study to be completed by fall of 2021. We're working to do that as soon as it is practical to do so, but we just want City Council to realize that that may or may not happen by the fall of 2021. We are proceeding as well as we think we can. We want to make sure that when we get to the point where we're ready to commission a feasibility study, that we have the data that we need so that the feasibility study will be a reliable feasibility study. So as soon as we're at the point where we feel like we have the data that we need, then we'll be able to proceed there. And that's going to be contingent on getting information requested from Alliant. A couple of the original city task force, or the original MEU task force that were appointed by the city, have stepped down, and so I've been working on trying to find replacements for the committee. At this point, we have one specific request, and that is approval of the grant item that I mentioned that I believe is at the very end of the City Council's agenda. So maybe I'm assuming that you got some details about that. I think that might there might be other information. But we do ask that you authorize the submission of a grant application on behalf of the city of Decorah. If we were able to secure that grant, it could offset some of the city's costs associated with this task force. So that's our only specific request at this point. As an informational item, I did want to let you know that in the future, we will need to request funding for legal fees associated with requesting data from the Iowa Utility Board. We will need to request funding for costs directly associated with the feasibility study itself that you've charged us with commissioning. And there will eventually be expenses associated with community education and outreach events when we're at a point where we can hold events. Am I supposed to invite questions? Do you have any questions for me?
Sure. No, I would go ahead. What type of questions might any of the council members have of Carly? As she said, her report is in the Dropbox. You can see that there. I have been attending the meetings. They've been very interesting to listen to and working through that process. And I know that they've now started, the one is starting to meet more often because of the information that's coming down.
Yeah, that's a good point. We had been meeting once a month, but we will be meeting twice monthly. The meetings were just long and full, and we weren't getting to all of the issues. We are, of course, proceeding with the interests of Decorah in mind. We are just looking to gather information and do what the task force has asked us to do, which is gather information and figure out what would be best for Decorah. So we are working on that.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So the data that you're needing for the feasibility study, is that, do you have a list of what kind of data you want specifically? And is that something that would be good for the council to just ask Alliant for up front to begin with? And then if we aren't able to secure that data like we weren't last time, if they put up a roadblock, then we could pursue that avenue with the utility board. Is that something we could do for you pretty quickly? Put a note into Alliant, like, can we have blank data, to see if maybe they would send it to us at this point?
So our feasibility study subcommittee is working on a draft of that letter. Okay. And yes, we anticipate that at some point that letter would come from someone in the city, either the city council or the mayor or the city manager. But yes, we're working on a draft of that letter, figuring out exactly what information that we want to request.
Great.
Any other questions or comments for Carly? Seeing and hearing none. Thanks, Carly. I appreciate your report.
Thank you, Carly.
Thank you.
Okay, now the consent agenda.
The consent agenda consists of minutes of the March 1, 2021 regular meeting, claims, change order number 4 for Locust Road project in a deduct amount of $16,944.59. Special event application for Holiday Lights Magical Nights, November 24, 2021 through December 25th, 2021. Renewal Class B beer permit for Winship County Fair, including Sunday sales and outdoor sales privileges. Renewal Class B beer permit for High, Wide, and Handsome, including Sunday sales. Addition to Class C beer permit for Quick Star to include carry-out wine. Temporary outdoor service area extension, Pulpit Rock Brewery. Just a side note, that temporary outdoor service area license would be for April through May. Item I, consider C3 commercial design review 222 West Water Street for Ethos Design, a change in sign designs. Consider C3 commercial design review 121 West Water Street for JKN Properties, LLC, Hacker Nelson for front facade work. Consider purchase of a city travel car not to exceed $25,000, and Resolution 3177, award of ad alternate number 1 for the 2021 Dry Run Park Plaza project. I would add that I'd had some conversation regarding item K on the purchase of a city travel car, and as the background notes discuss, we've got a current travel car, which tend to be old police cars, that's really fading fast. It's got some serious transmission work needed, et cetera, and the staff recommendation is that we don't invest in those repairs, that we go ahead and dispose of that vehicle in favor of a good quality used vehicle. A lot of our travel is over the highways, Des Moines, Council Bluffs, Sioux Center, et cetera. And so just to invest in something a little more reliable. I don't think we've ever had a good used car. I think all of our travel cars are recycled police cars, and so they tend to see that wear and tear a little more extensively. But the conversation I had with Ross earlier was, would the city look at investing in an electric car? And my concern is that with our long distances and with the number of people that tend to go on those long distances with luggage and things like that for overnight stays, an electric car that tends to be smaller or something like that, or maybe doesn't meet the range of our needs, would not be ideal for that type of use. But I recommended that the council consider an electric car for our short range, Northeast Iowa. A lot of times we take trips to Kelmer, West Union, Waverly, and that type of vehicle would be certainly appropriate for that type of use. And so my recommendation is that we proceed, that the council allow us to proceed with the purchase of the car here that we're planning, but that our next purchase we look at an electric vehicle for short range.
I'd like to move that out of the consent agenda and talk about it.
And I can still do that at this time, correct?
Yes. Yes, you can.
Do I need a vote for that?
Nope.
Okay. I will move that number K out of the consent agenda and move it down to the first item following the approval and passing of the consent agenda.
I've got a quick question about the Pulpit Rock sort of venue change. I looked through the background notes looking for information on that, and I only ever saw a map that basically makes it seem like they're designating the whole patio as parking. Chad, could you give me some sense of their parking plan, or have they thought about that or talked to you about that?
So usually liquor licenses go through Wanda's office, so I'll let her. But I don't know that there's a whole lot more information other than the map and the range of dates that they're looking at.
There's not, Steve. What was in the Dropbox is the map, and that's the only information that they're required to give us. And I know they don't intend to do it. It's just for that April-May time period. At this point, I would never say they wouldn't request an extension again later, but for right now, that's all the information I have for you.
Thank you.
So I'm looking for a motion second for the consent agenda.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Zittergreen seconds.
Motion made, seconded. Any other further discussion? Roll call.
Johnson?
Aye.
Zittergreen?
Aye.
Chisel?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Now we'll consider K, consider purchase of a city travel car not to exceed $25,000.
So, Chad, how many people usually go? Can you tell me a little bit of the longer distance trips and how many people tend to go on those trips? I guess, yeah. Can you give me a little bit more background on that?
Yeah, it really depends. But for example, several years ago, we went to Council Bluffs. I think there were 6 or 8 of us that went. We ended up taking probably, well, if there were 6, 2 cars at least. I think maybe there were 3 that year. And we try to be as efficient as possible with that. You know, we'll cram as many people in a car as we can. But again, if it's Des Moines, Sioux City, Council Bluffs, even Cedar Rapids or the Quad Cities area for league conferences or other trainings, we'll put as many people in those cars as we can with appropriate luggage.
But have we had an SUV before, or we always had cars?
They're all SUVs. We had a car, we had an old Crown Vic when I started. I think that was a 98 Crown Vic that was probably 12 years old when I started. That was the last car that we had, except maybe the Dodge Charger that didn't last very long and is up at the airport right now. But the rest of them have been SUVs because that's what the police department's moved to in the last 10 years or so, maybe 15 years. And so that's what we get recycled are the SUVs.
I mean, I guess in my thoughts are that we should buy an electric car, and if we can't, if you really are, if other council members are like, then I would go to a hybrid. But I don't see buying something less than a hybrid, given our sustainability plan, given where we are. I guess I'm to that point. I mean, I think electric vehicles can go the distance. I don't have any issue thinking that they can't go the distance. My parents drive electric vehicles. So I guess I just am more adamant that we consider at least a hybrid at the very least.
Further discussion from other council members?
I guess I'd be in favor of looking at least a hybrid. The idea that the city never drives anything other than old police cars. The attempt was to get the police to buy a hybrid electric with mixed success. But rather than wait for the next vehicle to be a electric or short range, I'm more in favor that we've cast a die that we're going to take a stand on sustainability and helping our city move forward in meeting goals. It seems more appropriate to meet that with this purchase as opposed to postponing.
What is the current range of electric vehicles, and do they have storage capacity for luggage, and are they comfortable for 4 or 5 people to travel in? And are there charging stations enough in all of these little Iowa communities that would make it make sense?
Well, even some of the bigger communities.
You use the microphone,
Close
Randy.
to your microphone, please.
Even some of the bigger communities, when we go to like the league meetings, they don't always have charging stations. Like if we stay at the conference hotel the last couple of years in Des Moines, we've been in the parking ramp. There's where you park, and there's no charging in there. So I mean, that would be a concern.
I think it's just a little premature. I'm in favor of the staff recommendation to get an efficient gas-powered vehicle.
Are you moving that?
I will make a motion, yes.
I'll second it.
So we have a motion made and seconded.
Can we still discuss?
Pardon?
We can still discuss, correct?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
you're in
right.
discussion.
It's just that we
Yeah,
had
so-
a motion and second, and now you can discuss.
So we can still buy an electric vehicle that has gas as backup. I mean, it's not as if they would get stranded without a gas vehicle. But I do think, again, going back to the hybrid, I recently just bought a hybrid, not an SUV, but a mini one, like a RAV. You could travel very comfortably with 4 people. I know that Weiss has is it the GM, or I don't know my cars very well, right? They have similar things. I think it should be at the very minimum a hybrid, but I think you're discounting electric vehicles too easily. The technology is there and the vehicles are there. And for $25,000, if we're going to spend $25,000, I do not see spending. I would spend another $5,000 and get something electric or hybrid.
Well, and so just to be clear on that, I put up to $25,000 in the request. The 3 cars that we have looked at locally are in the 20 to 21 range. We just wanted to make sure we gave ourselves enough room. My only concern is, as discussed, is the range. And, I think maybe we're all a little gun shy with the police department's experience with the new Ford Explorer hybrids. But as far as purely electric, I'd be really concerned about the range.
I'm not hearing purely electric talked about, actually.
Could you repeat that, please?
I'm thinking electric with gas backup / hybrid is what's being talked about as opposed to straight plug-in electric.
Thank you. Thank you.
Stephen or Andy, do you have any feedback at all?
I think that it's important for the city to publicly demonstrate a commitment to the sustainability plan, and so I can appreciate where Emily and Steve are coming from on this. I also know that there's a lot of, I guess, ecological value to buying a used car and running it into the ground compared to manufacturing a new hybrid. And just if we're going to be honest about total environmental cost of ownership, and so I can appreciate where the staff and the others are coming from too. I guess I'm kind of waffling on this one.
You could buy a used hybrid. You don't have to buy a new one.
I'm not sure I'd want a used hybrid.
I think Wanda's shaking her head. She hasn't seen one yet locally, right?
I also have heard several times from people who are enthusiasts about electric cars and hybrid cars that the total cost of ownership has recently crossed over. That now it's almost certainly cheaper to buy and keep a hybrid compared to an internal combustion engine car or even an electric. Maybe that was the piece of information. And I think we ought to take that seriously, given that we have a commitment to fiscal responsibility. But I'm not the one who's going to be riding in this thing most of the time, and I want to defer to staff a little bit on it.
Well, especially if you're talking about it being your long-range vehicle, it does, again, with gas prices, it does seem like a hybrid would be more would be a little bit more conservative.
Anybody
Yeah, I guess
else?
I'm a little apprehensive, just for the fiscal responsibility and some of the Steve just brought up some good points as well. I guess I would want to see more of a plan. For example, where are we plugging it in? Where is it kept? Is it going to be a problem for the staff? Are they going to have to plug? I guess I need more logistics or more information.
Further discussion?
Chad, where's the city vehicle kept now?
All city vehicles, we have 3 in our fleet. They're all kept right out here in the lot in the back.
So where would we charge this then?
We'd have to create a spot or find a spot.
But again, I'm also talking hybrid, so then you don't need to charge it.
I would have to say, as a hybrid driver for the last 6 years, they're very economical and very reliable. And that's the latest version. The 3 hybrids I had before that were also reliable. So that's my sense of it's not going out on a ledge at all.
Ross, what's the status? Haven't you been talking to Alliant about charging stations at the city?
Could you come up to the?
Well, I think she asked Ross where that stood.
Maybe Ross can answer for it.
Probably can't even see.
The Michelle Barnes and Jim Martin Schramm have been working with Jeremy to identify locations for EV charging stations and putting together a plan for placement and whatnot. But I don't know that City Hall was one of them. Jeremy is on the call. He would know more specifically.
Yeah, I can comment on that real quick. This is Jeremy. City Hall is not one of our top 2 locations we're looking at right now.
And just for the record, Chad, when we did speak, I hear you regarding the capacity and the capacity and distance requirement questions. When we went to Dubuque to the sustainability conference, although we did not drive a hybrid or whatnot, we did have 4 people in the car with luggage. if we vote no for this motion, but we bring it back, can we bring it back with a hybrid, not electric, but hybrid?
Sure.
As
you can just give us direction what you want us to bring back, right?
Within this same action? Unless somebody wants to offer a friendly.
Well, the motion is to move with staff recommendations, so you need to act on that and then decide what you want to do after that.
Okay.
Ross,
I was going to say unless somebody offers a friendly amendment. Sorry, Andy?
New or used, Ross?
Used. Because, I mean, if you look at Hometown Taxi, for example, I mean, those guys drive those Priuses into the ground. And those can accommodate 4 adults. You guys, whenever we go anywhere for a staff meeting, you're not going to bring your suitcase you're taking to Disneyland, right? So those should be able to accommodate 3 or 4 adults. And if you are taking 8 people to something, not driving an SUV is not, I don't think, is punitive, but having some sort of hybrid would be possible.
Well, and that was part of my recommendation is if we're doing Northeast Iowa trips, certainly something like that makes sense, even with 4 people, because we're not bringing anything with us, and it's a day trip. Right. Again, it's West Union, Calmer, Waverly, whatever, and back, and we're done, right, for the day kind of thing. And that does make total sense. I'm concerned about the longer trips, even beyond Des Moines.
I do think, I mean, people drive Priuses for their family car and go on vacations to Yellowstone, right? I mean, I think, again, sort of the city living their priorities of sustainability, one has to recognize that, yes, it's more comfortable to take a camper places too, but, the bigger you go, the more comfortable it is, but the bigger the environmental footprint. And I'm not suggesting that you get the smallest Prius there is, but there are plenty of hybrids used. I mean, hybrid technology has been around for 20 years. I mean, there's plenty of good used hybrids out there.
Well, you have a motion and a second. Are you ready to vote? Not hearing any other discussion. Roll call.
Johnson?
Aye.
Chisel?
Aye.
Neal?
No.
Carlson?
No.
Luce?
No.
Hadley?
No.
Zittergrun?
Yes.
Motion fails 3-4.
Motion fails 3-4. Your suggestion is to come back with a hybrid recommendation of some sort, but perhaps also include what the budget would be for something like that. So
I'd make a motion to move for staff to research the availability of a hybrid vehicle not to exceed $25,000.
You can't.
Sorry, the motion was consider a purchase of a city travel car not to exceed $25,000, right?
Right.
That we voted down.
I don't think.
That's why I asked if we could bring it back with a hybrid, and you said yes.
The agenda item was consider purchase of a city travel car not to exceed $25,000. You can bring it back. My opinion is you can't bring it back today because the agenda item was for that $25,000. I think if you kept it under, or $25,000 or under, I wouldn't have a problem with you amending it. I don't know if that's realistic or not for a used hybrid, though.
I think you should.
That was his second. That was his next motion, though, was to a hybrid not to exceed $25,000.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ross. Then I'm fine with that.
Is that what you said?
I'd second that.
What I said.
Just a minute, please. Okay.
Luce would second the motion Hadley made.
We're still discussing whether is the motion in place.
Yeah, the original motion was defeated, but now there's nothing to say that you can't.
But it's a different question because it's specific to a hybrid.
All right.
Council, are you good
I
with
would
it?
make a recommendation that you do some research Come back.
Yeah, I think you can. I think you can bring that motion now because you're the winning side.
I did, and we have a second.
Okay.
Okay.
Who seconded?
Loose.
Bruce, could you read the motion as stated again, please?
To bring back a quote for a hybrid travel car not to exceed $25,000.
Okay, motion and second. Discussion? Hearing
I mean,
none.
is this the sort of business item that we can just have the staff take as direction? Or
This is authorizing them to research and purchase up to.
oh, it actually authorized the purchase. Okay, thanks.
So after doing about 20 seconds of research, you can get a Toyota RAV4 hybrid starting at $28,500. So I'm sure we can find something close.
Especially with our 2 trade-in cars, right?
And
Well,
you know,
one.
maybe something a little larger than a
You're not
Prius.
gonna get.
Small.
We'll do some research. We'll let you know what we end up with.
Was that to include purchase? That they could purchase with
It's
that?
staff research.
I just bought a RAV, so I have an idea.
They can negotiate with the disposal of assets, I think. right?
Okay,
You can, John, they can negotiate for the disposal of current assets without bringing that back to council, correct?
Correct.
so they could actually go ahead, research, purchase, and move on.
Right. As long as the net total doesn't exceed 25,000.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Hadley,
Aye.
Luce,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Johnson,
No.
Neal,
Aye.
Zittergrun,
Aye.
Chisel.
Motion pass. Okay. Public hearing on the fiscal 22 proposed budget.
All right, this is the required public hearing on the fiscal 22 proposed budget. It is as presented at $15.26 for the city levy. I'll turn it over to Wanda for any other input.
Like Chad said, the levy ends up being $15.26 as directed by council during your work session. All the changes were made as directed by council that evening. The overall levy is up $1.07 from last year, which is largely attributed to the Locust Road project. The total budget amount is $16,134,889. I am happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I'll open the public hearing. Is there anyone who wishes to speak to the fiscal 22 proposed budget, either in-house or online? Okay, hearing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider resolution 3175, approving the fiscal year 22 budget as proposed.
Mayor Luce would move 3175.
Second, Carlson.
Motion and seconded. Discussion?
Has there been any public comment to the city hall?
Not that I'm aware of.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Hearing none. Roll call?
Luce,
Aye.
Carlson,
Aye.
Johnson, Neal,
Aye.
Hadley,
Aye.
Chisel, Zittergrun.
Aye.
Public hearing on proposed plans, specifications, estimate of cost, proposed form of contract, and consider bid for the construction of the 2021 Valley View Drive Street Improvement Project.
So the city received bids on March 11th. One bid was received for the 2 divisions of work for the Valley View Drive Street Improvement Project. And just to refresh council's memory, the Valley View Street Improvement Project is to pave the way and prepare for the Pole Line Road Bridge construction project a little later this summer, because that will be the designated detour route. The one bid was received from Skyline Construction of Decorah for Division 1 subtotal of $235,918.10. Division 2 subtotal $129,832.05 for a total project cost of $365,750.15. Staff recommends approval and award. Jeremy's on if there are any other questions.
Is there anybody who wishes to speak to this public hearing?
Jeremy, I did have one question that I couldn't answer asked of me, and it was that, does this fix the issue on Valley View Drive that the Woods Hole, not Woods Hole, Oceanographic, the people that did the flood study after this summer?
Woodwell.
Who was it?
Woodwell?
Yeah, Woodwell, sorry. They had identified an area on Valley View that would have been a flood risk. Does this fix that?
No would be the short answer. I'd have to look a little bit more on the area. But we are not proposing, this is strictly surface restoration only, because it is the street is essentially a levee. Any change to the grade of the street would require some more in-depth analysis, and costs. So this really isn't going to change anything but the surface of the street.
Okay, this person just reminded me that it was there. So while we were working, it was there. But cool, thanks.
Any other?
Yeah, I can take a look.
Any other further comment for the public hearing? I'll close the public hearing. Consider Resolution 3172, approving plans, specifications, estimate of costs, proposed form of contract, and award the bid for the construction of the 2021 Valley View Drive Street Improvement Project.
Hadley will move Resolution 3172.
I'll
Loose
second.
with the second.
Motion made and second. I have one question. What's the difference between Division 1 and Division 2?
Jeremy, I'll let you describe it a little more succinctly than I can.
Yeah, so Division 1 is the majority of the street. If you kind of start at the funny corner where it's divided and go north, that's Division 1. That is primarily a mill and overlay. We just happen to be peeling off all the pavement. The corner nearest to the highway is Division 2. That one needs a little bit more work. And so the reason we divided them into two divisions was because we wanted to do as much work as we could prior to the pole line project without holding up that project. So Division 1 will be required to be complete prior to pole line, and then Division 2, which we felt could hold up because it'll be a full replacement, will be after pole line. So ideally we would have done it all at once, but in the interest of getting it done prior to the pole line project, which has a DOT schedule, that's why we divided it into two divisions.
Thank you. I appreciate the definition. Any further discussion? Hearing or seeing none, roll call.
Hadley?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Chisel? Aye. Zittergrun?
Aye.
Public hearing on the proposed plan specifications, estimate of cost, proposed form of contract, and consider bid for the construction of 2021 Ice Cave Step Improvement Project.
The city received one bid on March 11 for this project as well from Reticulated Stone, John Dingley, for the project. At this time, staff is still working through some final documentation for the project, and so we recommend that we table the project at this time, but it is for improvements to the ice cave steps and landing area around the front of the ice cave area. And Andy and Jeremy could comment as necessary if there are questions.
Are there any questions, comments from the public in relation to this project? You want to step up and come to the podium? State your name and address, please.
I will.
Thank you.
John Dingley, Reticulated Stone. My address is P.O. Box 457, Willerny, Minnesota.
Okay.
But I spent most of my life living in an apartment in Decorah. I came down here in 1996 to help Bob Anderson put Peregrine Falcons back on the Mississippi River. I was a founding board member and still am a board member and current president of the Raptor Resource Project and the Decorah Eagle Camp.
Understand? I understand.
I've been doing building projects for the city of Decorah for 20 years now. I designed and built your city sign. Ted Wilson carved the letters. We built the first one and built the second one. And I've done an incredible amount of work in this town. And I bid the ice cave. I tried to be as fair as I can. I put a different addendum in there, or an alternate in there, which is number 4, if you've got it, which instead of doing a right angle turn with steps, which is quite expensive, we come down, we put a metal barrier. And I've been out there and that would work. Now, I have talked to my accountant. He will get a thing put together on my finances. I don't have a credit rating, never had a credit rating, never asked for one. I've been in this country 45 years, never asked for a credit rating because I never, if I couldn't afford it, if I couldn't pay for it, I wouldn't have it. But that's my personal thing. But I think the warranty and performance bond and all the other stuff, I think that's doable. However, I could withdraw this bid right now and then resubmit maybe in 10, 12 days' time. But I can assure you it's going to be a lot higher number than it is now because I have all this other stuff to cover.
Okay.
So that is my statement.
Okay.
And you can decide. And I'll be glad to do this job. But if you want to save money, well, I'm your man.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other?
Maybe John could just give a quick overview. At issue is the issuance of a performance bond for the project because of the state bid thresholds.
Right. Due to state requirements, there's several different bonds that are required, and then there's also one that is highly recommended. But the bid and the performance bonds, we don't have any discretion over because of the size of the project. We have to have those bonds provided, and understandably, it may increase the cost because that obviously gets factored in. My understanding is the bid that's out there right now does not include all of the bonds that we have in the contract. The maintenance bond is one that's highly recommended by SUDOS, and that's kind of a warranty bond where if something goes wrong in a certain amount of time, it covers that.
And is that the reasoning for putting this off till we get all that straightened around?
Right. The recommendation of the staff was to table this either if the bidder either withdraws his bid and if because he hasn't, my understanding, met all of the terms of the contract, or else council table the matter.
Okay.
Can we have? Oh, I have a question. Sorry.
Let's see. We're still in the public hearing, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Anybody else? I'll close the public hearing. Resolution 3173, approving the plan specifications, estimate of cost, proposed form of contract, and awarding the bid for the construction of the 2021 Ice Cave Step Improvement Project.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
So John could essentially withdraw his bid so that he could then work in the costs of needing to get the things that we have to have for him to do it. Is that correct?
And I think if we do that, then we'll have to start over.
Correct. Then, Emily, we would need to start over where we would have to advertise for bids again and see who bids.
And John's our only current bid, right?
Correct.
Correct. So what staff's recommending right now is that, you've just held the public hearing, so table this action in the hopes that staff, legal counsel, and the bidder can get together and get things worked out, bring it back as a successful bid that we would recommend awarding.
Okay.
So it just needs further work, correct?
Well, and to be clear, if his bid changes, financially, because he has to increase it because of the bonding, you got to start over.
Okay.
So that very well could be the end result.
But
what does it cost for him to do that? Do you know?
For the bond?
Yeah.
I do not know what the additional cost is. It's not insignificant. I won't say.
Right.
But we don't. I mean, our hands are tied, right, John? We can't.
Yeah.
We can't approve the bid as it stands. So.
Correct. You
so
cannot approve it as it stands if he can't guarantee us that he's going to meet the terms of the contract, which requires those bonds.
And it sounds like he would need to change his bid anyway because of the increased cost that our requirements would be imposing. So I will follow staff recommendation and move to table.
In a second.
So Randy had moved. So Zittigern, would you second?
If we can't hear anything being done in the room, we don't know anything's happening. So Zittigern is appropriate as opposed to saying that something happened in the room that no one could hear.
It did.
Well,
they did hear, but then Steve had
heard.
jumped in. Wow.
Not everyone heard, Mayor. That's my point. We are a public hearing or an open meeting, and it's required that people speaking in the room turn their mics on and speak directly into them if they want to be considered part of the meeting.
Steve, he did have the mic on, and he was speaking directly into it.
I heard this.
Well, at any rate, I now know that he had moved it, and I would like to second it.
Thank you. Further discussion? Roll call?
Chisel?
Aye.
Zittigern?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Motion's been tabled. We'll look forward to that coming back.
Yeah, I want to see that work done. He does such great work every time he works for the city.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, agreed.
Public hearing on a request for rezoning of property at 909 South Mill Street, Mocha, Block 4, Payne and O'Connor, Lot 1, except North 2, Section 21, Township 98 North, Range 8 west of the 5th PM from R3 Multifamily Residential District to C1 Highway Commercial.
This is a rezoning application that has been recommended for approval by the Planning and Zoning Commission. Just purely on the rezoning aspect, it is for commercial retail development, specifically for an establishment called Mill Street Mocha, which is a drive-through coffee type service commercial. Planning and Zoning has held their public hearing on the rezoning, and they do recommend approval. We are still working through some of the site plan details. We'll talk about that in a minute. But the site plan has been considered, reviewed, amended, and approved by Planning and Zoning contingent on the rezoning to commercial. And staff and commission recommend approval of the rezoning of the parcel to allow for this type of commercial development in this small lot. There are no apparent negative impacts of the rezoning, and it meets otherwise applicable zoning codes.
I'll open the public hearing. Are there people who wish to speak to this item, either on Zoom or in-house? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider Ordinance 1267, rezoning of the property at 909 South Mill Street. Mill Street, Mocha.
I would move for approval of Ordinance 1267, first reading.
Zittergren seconds.
Motion approved, motion made by Chisel, second by Zittergren. Discussion.
Chad, have you received any comments at City Hall?
No comments on the rezoning.
Did anyone?
When I was,
oh,
go ahead, Emily.
I was going to ask if anyone spoke at P&Z about it.
The neighbor, business owner to the south, had a few comments through the process on the site plan, and I think all of those have been satisfied. Given the small nature, the small stature of this lot, there were some concerns with the site plan itself, but I think those have been satisfactorily mitigated. There have been no comments through the P&Z hearing process on the rezoning itself.
Thank you.
I think it's a great use of infill. The comp plan does look to us to support and P&Z support infill of commercially viable land. I don't see that this would ever be in our situation just because of our requirements, especially in a multifamily setting. So I see no harm in the rezoning request.
Yeah, I like almost everything about this application and appreciate the hard work that P&Z and adjustments and the applicants and staff have put into making it happen. It's such a good idea. I wish I'd thought of it first. The question I have has to do with idling cars and that residential unit nearby. I know that there was some discussion of that. Has there been any resolution of that potential issue?
No, there was a little discussion of that at the Board of Adjustment meeting. I'd get into that, maybe, Steve, a little more under the site plan itself. But ultimately, I did a little research for the Board of Adjustment. But first, I advised them that really discussion of idling or emissions really wasn't appropriate for the Board of Adjustment because they really have to focus on variance requests through the code itself. It really didn't gain any additional discussion traction at Planning and Zoning, though it did bounce back to them. But I think based on the information that I provided them, they really didn't have any concerns either. And I guess maybe just since we're on it, maybe it doesn't really matter. I'll just tell you what I found. So I did a little research on vehicle emissions through drive-thrus. There was not a lot of information available online, or you really had to be sensitive to the source of that information. So, for example, I pulled two studies. One of them looked at the vehicle emission levels and provided a lot of critical data and testing. And I was able to extrapolate that data out and then compare it to the EPA's standards for maximum exposure to CO2, carbon monoxide, nitrogen levels, and hydrofluorocarbon levels. And all of the levels that were shown in the studies were well below the EPA thresholds for time duration. So that didn't really present any major concerns there. The other study that I pulled really said that drive-through vehicle emissions probably impacted the workers at a drive-through window more than anybody else around. But they concluded their study by saying that their results were really inconclusive, and so they didn't have any data to say anything otherwise either. So with that information, again, there was some ancillary conversation, and then the issue was just dropped.
Well, thanks for all that work that you did to look into the issue, Chad. And I guess, upside out of this is that if the staff wants to stop by on their way on a road trip in their new hybrid, they won't be adding to any potential problem there.
Any further discussion?
Well, and I will say, Steve, too, so many new cars now don't, when they stop, the engine turns off. Like my car does that now, too. So
this is a time-limited problem, if it is a problem. Yeah, thanks, Chad.
I would add to that front too. I know the applicants addressed the Board of Adjustment by saying that their average wait time at a drive-through coffee type establishment was about 90 seconds. And if people were waiting in line longer than that, then they probably had a customer service problem.
Any further discussion? Roll call?
Chisel.
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Motion carried. Consider a site plan, 909 South Mill Street, Mocha, commercial building.
So there's a little more detail in here. I did put quite a bit of information in the background notes about this. As I mentioned, it's a pretty tight little site, but it fits pretty well. The applicants brought a site plan to the Planning and Zoning Commission, but it did require some variance applications to the Board of Adjustment. So the Planning and Zoning approved it, contingent on Board of Adjustment. The applicants went to the Board of Adjustment, sought the variances that you see listed there for reduced parking spaces, north and south setbacks, and east parking setbacks. The Board of Adjustment granted those variances, but during the conversation, the applicants actually made some modifications and flipped the site. And so we brought it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission and said, hey, we changed a few things around. The applicants feel this is a little bit better. The Planning and Zoning Commission liked those changes as well. The drive-through is now on the south side, coming off of Division and exiting on Mill Street. It still does necessitate going back to the Board of Adjustment for a change or a flip in the variances because of that. But Planning and Zoning did recommend approval of the site plan subject to that Board of Adjustment, which would happen on April 7th. For the sake of keeping things moving, I would suggest that the council do the same thing, approve it contingent on April 7th Board of Adjustment.
Chad, before we discuss that, in the background, it suggested that we might consider waiving second and third readings. Is it your consideration that maybe that's not worth doing, given that this is still up in the air, or did we just skip that accidentally?
Well, you probably skipped it accidentally. I would consider that you would, or I would recommend that you consider that if you want to back up to consider that. Again, there have been no comments. This has been through 2 Planning and Zoning Commission meetings and 2 Board of Adjustment meetings. It's my feeling that anybody that's had an opportunity to comment on this probably has done so.
Well, then I'd like to back up. I move that we waive the second and third reading of Ordinance 1267.
When does it go to Board of Adjustment?
April 7.
Luce would second that.
So we have a motion to waive the second and third reading of Ordinance 1267 with a second discussion.
Just to clarify, it's been to P&Z, Board of Adjustment, and us, and nobody's ever come forward.
Well, people have come forward, but their comments have been on some of these things that we're talking about in the site plan itself, not the rezoning. And I think we've addressed all those questions and concerns on the site plan.
Okay. Roll call?
Zittergrun?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Chisel?
Aye.
Okay, so now we'll go back to consider the site plan for 909 South Mill Street.
I make a I'll move that we pass the site plan contingent on Board of Adjustment.
Second from Zittergrun.
Made a motion, made and second. Any further discussion?
I would just like to thank the staff. I've followed the bouncing ball on this one since the cocktail napkin introduction of the concept. I don't think a lot of people, and myself included, appreciate the amount of time and meeting and effort that staff and the committee's take to make things like this possible. This is a fairly short turnaround, actually, for something unusual, but there's been a lot of really good cooperation, and so I think the concept that Decorah is anti-business can be quashed with this one by staff being creative and supportive, along with P&Z and Board of Adjustment, to get something of value for our community. So I just want to thank staff again for their work on this one.
Thanks for those comments, Rose. Any other further discussion? Roll call.
Neal.
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Public hearing to review the CDBG activities proposed housing grant and receiving public comment.
Mayor, I'd like to introduce Nathan Thompson with Upper Explorer Land Regional Planning Commission. He's going to kind of run the council through the conversation on the CDBG housing program.
Yeah, hi, welcome everybody. Congratulations, we're at the most exciting part of the night. I get to read some things into the record and you get to listen to it. But before that, I want to give a quick update on the Community Development Block Grant application that we are planning to submit. We have been in contact with Iowa Economic Development Authority, and they are waiting on their next allocation from HUD. That means that we cannot submit our grant to them until they do get that next allocation. The good news on that is that they are anticipating, this is not official word, but they are anticipating that it's very likely that they'll get that before July, and definitely within this calendar year. So, and everything that we do through these meetings, public hearings, all these documents that we're required to do as a part of the application process, this is all good for a year. So this will really just help us get ahead of everything when we are ready to submit all this. So, so there are two things that we need to take care of this evening. The first one, which is a little shorter, is called the Community Development and Housing Needs Assessment. This is just a broad outline of why the CDBG housing grant is a good fit for the city, what other sorts of discussions it fits into. And so we do need to have a record of having discussed this at our meeting. The second one that I actually have to read out loud verbatim, and that has to be in our minutes verbatim, is 9 points about how the project need was identified. So I'll start with the more fun one here with the Community Development and Housing Needs Assessment. I am going to be reading off of this, but feel free to make any comments before or after or during as I'm reading this. So this is the Community Development and Housing Needs Assessment. Community development and housing needs of low and moderate income persons. These include decrease the number of substandard housing units in the city, minimize hardship to low and moderate income homeowners by assisting in the rehabilitation of owner-occupied homes in Decorah, eliminating future deterioration in and stabilizing existing housing stock within the city, provide for energy efficiency in homes, support the Northeast Iowa Regional Housing Trust Fund, which helps with rehabilitation of owner-occupied homes, and provide support for first-time home buyers. All right, we're a third of the way through it, everyone. Other community development and housing needs, provide additional housing opportunities, provide ongoing job creation, continue to enhance retail and commercial business in the community, continue street and infrastructure improvements, continue new housing construction and subdivisions, eliminate blighted structures and redevelopment parcels, continue to promote tourism within the community as an economic driver, encourage housing development in underdeveloped or infill lots within city limits. And our last sort of header here, planned or potential activities to address housing and community needs. One of those is an application for housing sustainability grant, which is the CDBG grant, which we're addressing right now through Iowa Economic Development Agency, reviewing and modifying a tax abatement program to incentivize construction or rehabilitation of housing units within the city, and a plan for removal of substandard housing units and redevelopment of lots. All right, we made it, everyone. Are there any questions, comments on that part?
No, but all those things are extremely valuable, and it's good to read through them, even if you...
Yeah, if you read through this list, Decor is addressing a lot of this, so you know,
and
feel
it's
good
super
about it.
exciting that we're hoping to finally be able to engage the CDBG block grants. Like, it's been a while.
It's a good program. Upper Explorer Land's done 31 of them since the year 2000, and we've helped rehabilitate an awful lot of homes in Northeast Iowa, but never in Decorah before because of how the formula was set before. So.
Okay.
All right, onward to our 9 points that we need to cover here. So, all right, get ready, everyone. All right, point A, how the need for the proposed activity or projects were identified. City and economic development officials have identified a need for housing sustainability assistance for low and moderate income homeowners through the Upper Explorer Land Regional Planning Commission 2017 Winship County Housing Needs Study and analysis of housing trends in Decorah, including median home value, employment data, and wage data. While Decorah has a higher median household income than state average, low and moderate income households in the city has limited access to housing that is both of high quality and affordable. In addition, Decorah has a high percentage of homes that were built prior to 1980 and are more likely to need expensive repairs or rehabilitation. The city is proposing to make improvements to 6 owner-occupied homes. Part B. How the proposed activity or projects will be funded and sources of funds. The proposed activity will utilize $254,100 of Community Development Block Grants Housing Sustainability Program funds to rehabilitate 6 homes. Part C, the date the housing fund applications will be submitted. The housing fund owner-occupied, which is the name it was previously called, owner-occupied or housing sustainability grant application will be submitted before September 1st to the Iowa Economic Development Authority. D, requested amount of federal funds. The City of Decorah requests $254,100 from the Community Development Block Grant Housing Sustainability Program, payable as a grant for each participant as a means to help IEDA's Iowa Housing Quality Standards, lead-safe housing regulations, or other guidelines approved by Iowa Economic Development Authority. No matching funds are proposed. E, estimated proportion of federal fund or portion of federal funds that will benefit persons of low and moderate income. The city has proposed assisting 6 low to moderate income households with rehabilitation of their homes. All 6 of these households will be verified to be at or below 80% of the area median income. It is estimated that approximately 80% of the requested federal funds will be used to directly benefit low and moderate income persons. Administrative costs, including technical services and lead hazard reduction carrying costs, total approximately 20% of the requested funds, and 100% of the project funds will benefit LMI persons. F, where the proposed activity or project will be conducted, the project will be conducted within the city limits of Decorah. G, plans to minimize displacement of persons and businesses as a result of funded activities or projects. No businesses or persons will be displaced during this process. H, plans to assist persons actually displaced. There are no plans to displace any persons. And final point, I, the nature of the proposed activity or project. The nature of the proposed project within Decorah is to provide funds and technical assistance for the rehabilitation of 6 existing homes owned and occupied by low to moderate income households. Any additional information can be obtained by contacting Upper Explorer Land Regional Planning Commission at 563-864-7551 or by emailing nthompson@uerpc.org. That poor guy.
Well, well done, Nathan.
Right. Any further questions on community development block grants?
No, but it's nice to have this done so that the public hearing is done and it's done for a year. So hopefully we'll be able to get funding and move forward prior to the year.
Yeah, and we do have to, just so everybody knows, we do have to approve the administrative plan as well. And we're just lucky I don't have to read this into the record, all right? So thank you for having me. Please be in contact if you have any questions, and let me know
You might
if there's
want to
anything else.
stay up there because
Thanks so much, Nathan.
Thanks, Nathan.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
You might want to stay up there if there's any. We have to vote on the resolution. I'll close the public hearing. Consider Resolution 3174 approving the submission of a Community Development Block Grant application to the Iowa Economic Development Authority and the expenditure of funds to be applied for Housing Fund General application for Housing Sustainability Program.
I will move for approval of Resolution 3174.
Moved by Chisholm,
Luce will
I'll
second.
I think, second by Luce, I think I heard that one first. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call.
Chisel.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nathan.
Consider Resolution 3174 approving the submission. Uh-oh,
We're on 16.
wrong one. Thank you. Public hearing. That was pretty good, though. I got down to
Yeah.
16 and I haven't
Yeah.
had to be caught. Public hearing on proposed designation of the Decor Commerce Drive Urban Revitalization Area.
So this is a reset of a public hearing regarding the creation and implementation of the Commerce Drive Urban Revite area. The area will include one property, 801 Commerce Drive. Other properties and parcels may be added by amending them in at a time council deems it appropriate to do so, or an application is received. The exemption from property taxes is over 5 years at 80% exemption, 70, 60, 50, 40% exemption of the actual value added in the 5th year. The projected abatement of taxes for this project is about $20,000 over the 5 years, but is based on the final taxable valuation increase as determined by the county assessor. Both the resolution and the ordinance are required for creation of the district. There have been no comments on the matter received at City Hall other than some phone calls just asking for a clarification and explanation as to what the program is. There's an awful lot of legal jargon in some of these documents and notices, and it takes some time to kind of work through it.
Is there anyone who wishes to speak to this public hearing, either in-house or on Zoom? Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Consider Resolution 3176 adopting the proposed plan for the Decor Commerce Drive Urban Revitalization Area.
Luce would move 3176 for adoption.
Moved by Luce.
Neal would second.
Neal by, second by Neal. Any discussion? Roll call.
Luce.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Consider Ordinance 1268 designating an area of Decorah, Iowa as the Decor Commerce Drive Urban Revitalization Area.
I make a motion that we pass Ordinance 1260 designating the area of Decorah, Iowa as a Decorah Commerce Drive Urban Revitalization Area.
We have motion made by Neal.
Second, but if I don't have to repeat it.
Who was that?
Second by Hadley.
Ross. By Hadley. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Neal.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Any appetite to waive second, third, and adopt?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Motion made by Chisel, seconded by Hadley. Any discussion? Roll call.
Chisel.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Motion carried, waive and adopt. Consider Ordinance 1269 increasing water rates.
Staff proposes, we discussed at the budget work session, it's in the budget, to increase water rates at 2% effective July 1, 2021.
Luce would move 1269.
Neil, a second.
Moved by Luce, seconded by Neil. Discussion? Roll call?
Luce.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Consider ordinance 1270, increasing sewer rates.
Same discussion at the budget work session. It's in the budget to propose increasing sewer rates by 2% effective July 1, 2021.
Hadley would move ordinance 1270.
Luce would second.
Motion made by Hadley, seconded by Luce. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Hadley.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Neal.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Consider appointment of Greg Swanson.
Whoops.
21.
Oh, sorry. Oh, rats. That means I had two. Consider ordinance 1271, introduction and first reading of an ordinance creating chapter 13.4, stormwater management, and amending chapter 1340 and 16.04 of the municipal code of the city of Decorah.
This ordinance creates a new city code section, Stormwater Management Ordinance. The city's utility committee has discussed and recommends creation, implementation, and enforcement of a stormwater management ordinance. Primary goals include to ensure proper growth and development of the city's new and redeveloped commercial and larger scale residential subdivisions and properties, provide current best practices for the design, construction, and inspection of residential and commercial stormwater and site development and improvements, consistent with public policy of the city and in keeping with accepted engineering and design principles. Support the city's sustainability plan, vision of maximizing the absorption of floodwaters and floodplains while also investing in the best available technologies to protect our assets from flooding. The ordinance reflects the AW.1 action item in the city's sustainability plan, as noted below, in the background notes, and has been reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Commission and the Sustainability Commission in addition to the above-mentioned Council Utility Commission.
Luce would move ordinance 1271.
Second by Hadley.
Neil will second, and thank you.
We did Hadley beat you on that one, Emily. Seconded by Hadley. Discussion? There you go.
No, I want to say, Jeremy, thank you so much. I know you've been working on this baby for a long time, and I think this is going to be great for the city of Decorah, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
I just have one question specifically for Jeremy and Chad. The city put in a stormwater system in the Nordheim Park a few years back, and since that time there's been no maintenance on it, and the water is now the pad that comes out from that stormwater is below the ground level, so it's forcing the water outside of the waterway. Who is responsible for that maintenance? And then if damage happens on private property, who's going to fix it?
Jeremy, are you aware of that situation?
Yeah, actually, I think, Chad, you just mentioned it late last fall or even this winter. So, yeah, that's a storm sewer pipe, correct, Randy?
That is correct. And instead of going out of the pipe, it's now hitting the ground and going sideways, which then pushes it outside of the waterway. And it's coming over specifically into our property and my neighbor's property. Well, there's a sinkhole line there, and a very large depression is starting on the bottom of our property that abuts the park, which is part of the outfield area, and there's lots of kids that run back and forth through that area. I would hate to see a sinkhole develop because we're not managing or maintaining our systems.
Yeah, We'll look at that certainly in the spring. That would be our if assuming it's a city pipe and we have an easement through that area, it would be ours to maintain. So we'll certainly take a look at that.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Luce?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Zittergrun?
Aye.
Chisel?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Now, consider appointment of Greg Swanson.
Is there a consideration for waiving second, third, and adopting?
I think we should.
Luce would move. We consider waiving second and third and adopt.
Neil will second.
Okay, we have a motion and second for waiving and adopting, second and third.
Randy, you said something. I don't think people heard you.
No. I think this is one that we should maybe wait until the next meeting to see what gets out on the news and what reaction the public has to it, because this is something that kind of slides under the radar when it goes to P&Z and that. So I think we should hold off, and then we can pass or waive the third reading at the next meeting. We're in no hurry to get this done, but let's see what the public says.
Our next meeting is next Monday, correct?
You have a work session next Monday, so it'll be the following.
Okay. April.
Or actually, you got a fifth month in March, so it'll be April 5th. It'll be your next one, so it'll be 2 weeks.
Okay.
2 weeks.
Well, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion?
I kind of agree with Randy. That's the way I'll vote.
Okay, roll call.
Luce?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Chisel?
No.
Zittergrun?
No.
Hadley?
No.
Johnson?
No.
Carlson?
No.
Motion fails.
Okay. So that will be
April 5th.
April 5th. Okay, thank you. Okay, are we ready?
Now we can appoint Greg.
Okay, consider appointment. I've been trying to get you in there, Greg. Consider appointment of Greg Swanson as zoning administrator.
I would move for the appointment of Greg Swanson as our zoning administrator.
I will second that.
Moved by Chisel, second by Johnson. Discussion?
Greg, nod your head if you still want this.
Comes with a lot of benefits.
You get a bottle of Excedrin with it.
Okay, roll call.
Chisel?
Aye.
Johnson?
Aye.
Luce?
Aye.
Carlson?
Aye.
Neal?
Aye.
Zittergrun?
Aye.
Hadley?
Aye.
Motion carried. Congratulations. It's nice having you here. It's been a long time coming. Consider submittal of a grant application through the USDA for a rural development business grant for the municipal electric utility process and authorizing the mayor to sign.
So, Mayor, I had a couple of notes in my background about this, just in my conversations with members of the task force that are working on this, but I know there are several on. So just kind of running through my background notes and what I know at this point. The task force is recommending submittal of a grant application through the USDA Regional Business Development Grant Program. The task force is recommending the grant application be submitted for funding for proposed legal and community outreach funding. The task force is not asking for funding from the council or the USDA for the feasibility study at this time. The program is designed to provide technical assistance and training for small rural businesses, including municipal entities. And so that would be the nature of their application at this time. There's no minimum or maximum, grant amount. Smaller requests are given higher priority through the process, if I understand it correctly. And there's no cost-sharing requirement, although there could be an ask for that. And then I list a few of the uses for the funds: training and technical assistance, as I mentioned, project planning, business counseling training, market research, feasibility studies, professional or technical reports, long-term business planning, community economic development, or business plans. And there's no specific dollar amount being requested at the from the MEU at this time. That's what I know. Maybe there are others from the task force represented that might have some more information.
I guess I would just support the application because in the last MEU vote, one of the things that was uncertain to a lot of people was the business plan and the operations standpoint. And as a city, I want to make sure that if something like this were to come forth for a vote or for a bond, that we would be able to clearly explain the business plan and the operations. There's no ask for a match. There doesn't seem to be any downside to this. And since the Rural Development Business Grant is specifically indicating those things, I think it's very appropriate to apply. So I support it.
Any other discussion?
Luce would move we accept supporting the grant application.
Neil, second.
Motion made by Luce, seconded by Neil.
Luce, would you take it as a friendly amendment to authorize the mayor to sign? I want to make sure that we're crossing T's and dotting I's here.
Certainly.
Just again, a reminder, can you remind me, there were, it looked like there was some costs, but any cost that was incurred would be within the sustainability budget?
Yeah, if there were a match that were to be requested, that would come from the council's franchise fee fund, which 50% of that has been designated for sustainability efforts.
But Chad, correct me if I'm wrong, that would require, sort of another council action. Is that correct?
That would be my recommendation, because right now you just don't know what that number is, nor do I believe the MEU task force is presenting a number. So if there is a specific ask, that should come back.
Well, having sort of journeyed alongside them as liaison to that working group, I'll just say that this represents their commitment to engaging in as much fact finding and listening as is necessary to ensure that they have the best data, in terms of guiding this discussion in Decorah. They're eager not to make the process feel rushed, and I think especially the early results of the work of the communications subcommittee and their intentional listening sessions and conversations with community leaders and businesses and groups. It's bearing so much fruit that the rest of the task force expressed a desire that this process played out, that we not accelerate the timeline towards any particular sustainability study until we've done due diligence along the way. And so I'm grateful for their careful work and the process that they think makes the most sense to them. I think this is a no-brainer, and anytime we can get grant money into the city, that's a good thing.
Okay, just to be clear, from my standpoint, when I say that, they have a potential of a $20,000 budget that might go with that. Is that correct?
I think that's a $20,000 grant ask.
Okay.
But again, I'm not sure that it requires a match. I think their ask in the grant will be up to $20,000.
Okay, that's fine. I just wanted to be clear on that for myself as far as when I actually see that. So.
Yeah, right, Mayor. That's a good question. I know that from my conversations with the committee members that we should certainly anticipate as a council that they will request funds for us for things like community education events. And maybe in support of this work, or if the grant, if they respond, that there needs to be a council match or something, but that would be a separate conversation.
Okay, I appreciate that clarity. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Oh, and include the...
Authorizing the mayor to sign.
Okay, so...
I would ask that everyone consider best practices is to seek grant money to support city actions, and this is indeed what we're asking for in approving this application.
Okay, I think the first, we have a motion and second for the mayor to sign this. Is that correct?
Yes. And I'm sorry, who seconded that?
Neil?
Neil?
Thank you.
So we need to do that motion first?
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion on that? Roll call?
Wait, isn't that the only motion before us?
No, there was a
no.
friendly amendment to just make
Right.
sure we were including authorizing the mayor to sign because that was not stated in the original motion language.
Correct.
Okay.
So that's the first one.
So you're voting on a friendly amendment to authorize the mayor to sign.
Great.
Okay, roll call?
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Luce.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Hadley.
You're counting me first.
I think.
You haven't got to me.
I'll say aye too.
Okay, sorry. Somehow I got it out of
Okay.
whack there. All right, now the original motion, which was moved by Luce and seconded by Neil.
Okay. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Luce.
Aye.
Neil.
Aye.
Hadley.
Aye.
Chisel.
Aye.
Zittergrun.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Carlson.
Aye.
Okay, city manager, department head report.
Just a couple of things under my report. As is practice or has become accustomed, I keep Ordinance 1257 face coverings on under this section just in case there's any discussion or comments from council. So I would ask if there are any further discussions on that point. Hearing none.
Thank you for wearing them until we're all safe.
The second thing is that we are at the end of another quarter. And so I would draw your attention to staff report on the goal setting completed by council last year, actually just over a year ago, and kind of walk you through that document in the Dropbox there for each of those priority sections. And I don't know that there were really any major updates. I think on community-based goals, childcare, item number 1, some elected officials have met with Decor Jobs and WCDI, and I know they're working hard. There was a kind of a report out meeting with the mayor on February 25th. Housing and housing incentives, the city has secured property at 701 Maple Street. RFPs for redevelopment have been sent. Business growth and development, we just talked about a new coffee shop coming to the community, and there's also an architectural firm that's relocating a branch office from Ankeny to downtown, so that's kind of exciting. And the Downtown Resource Center final assessment, council approved a cover letter, and those letters and assessment report was sent out late last week as well. The task force has been seated and has been meeting, and staff had presented phase 1 of the salary matrix compensation plan on February 22nd to the council, and council set that aside waiting for the market study to come in. So I would just draw your attention to those items in there. If you have questions, be happy to talk about that. The last thing, well, I have two more quick things here. Greg and I worked this afternoon on a couple of sample ordinances for building codes. Those are in the Dropbox. The 2 samples that we have are the International Building Code and the International Residential Code. And we have those pretty much in draft ordinance form. We'll get those to John so he can look at them, but they are in the Dropbox. There will be 6 other similar type ordinances to adopt the trades, the fire code, and the existing building code, for example, and so we'll work on getting those to you as well, but our intent would be to present those to you on April 5th for first reading, right? So there's samples of that in your Dropbox. And then I just have a brief statement to read, if I may, if you would indulge me.
Sure.
Since this is my
I'd be glad to.
last council meeting.
I think I'd be glad.
Mayor, council, and citizens of Decorah, I've thoroughly enjoyed working with the city's staff, residents, and elected officials over the years. Though the stress and heartache has been there has been laughter, joy, and success in the myriad projects and initiatives completed during my tenure. I will always cherish the people I now count as friends. It has been a joy to work with you on Locust Road improvements, utility extensions to the east and west, increased housing starts, airport improvement projects, new equipment, and capital assets like an aerial fire truck and new street sweeper. The staff and I developed a mantra of taking care of what we have, and it has served as a great touchstone in budget planning and stewardship of the public trust. Of all the groups of people I've had the privilege of working with the past 10 years, I am most appreciative of the city employees. This team of dedicated and committed individuals will forever hold a special place in my heart, personally as friends and professionally as coworkers. Thank you all ever so much for the support and encouragement you've offered me over these years. You are all very special people.
Thank you for the statement. I feel that the relationship, the partnerships that we've developed, the friendships, and all of the work that you've assisted in guiding us will set a bar quite high from when we look for someone to come in and be able to work. I wish you all, I'll just say, the luck and, strength, and know that you've got some support here going forth on your next career challenge. We'll look forward to hearing great things, so we'll know just how to follow up with Burlington when it comes to that.
Yep. Thank you very much.
So
that's all I have, Mayor.
that was quite a bit, Chad.
Chad, you will be at our work session next week, right?
Oh, yeah.
I will be.
Yep.
Okay.
Wanda.
Can't hear.
We can't hear Wanda.
No.
Okay, sorry, I must have turned it off. We are having a
Cut out.
Just come right up to the podium.
Sorry, I guess we're having problems with that mic. We are having a open house, an informal open house on March 24th. That's next Wednesday, Chad's last day. So anyone from the public who wishes to come in and wish him well, he will be in his office all that day. And so they're welcome to come and go as they like. Alternatively, he will be at Toppling Goliath on Thursday from 5 to 7. And just in case you want to pop in and greet him there and maybe enjoy a beverage or two. So all that being said, Chad, I have watched you for 9 years give so much of yourself to this community, and unless you've been here and watching it, you really can't appreciate everything you've done. It's been my pleasure and privilege to have worked with you all that time, and I wish you and Sally all the success and happiness that you can possibly find in Burlington and wherever life takes you after that.
You're here.
Yeah, I'm very grateful that the twilight of my career has included you.
Thank you, Wanda. Let's see, do we have any other comments from over there. I'll come to the.
There are staff reports in the Dropbox too, as is custom.
Okay. Randy.
This off so they can hear me online. Chad, I just want to say thank you, because when you came to Decorah, we were just starting the Short Street project and the Highway 9 water and sewer projects, and those were both very I won't say overwhelming, but they were very large projects that we were not used to undertaking, and you guided us through that. And then you guided us through the Locust Road project, which went off very, very smoothly. And I just want to say the 9 years that you have been here, you've helped me grow, learn, and become a better representative for the city of Decorah. And I just want to say thank you, and Chad deserves a round of applause, everyone.
Hear, hear.
Okay, I'm going to go according to kind of the way people usually sit. Eventually we'll get back, and I think, Emily, you'd be up next then. You have any comments?
Well, I want to echo what everyone said and thank Chad for your service. But I'm someone who just sort of keeps thinking you're still going to be here, so that's why I'm like, you'll be here next week. So wait, we got next week. So other than that, just thanking you profusely and really valuing the fact that I had the last year to work with you and to get to know you better. And sad that you're leaving before we get back to good times and waffle fries and all those good times as well. So, but knowing I'll see you next week, and I'll be fully vaccinated by then. So
I think Good Times will actually be open for in dining next week. So maybe after the work session, maybe, right? So
yeah, and I'll have my vaccine, and I'll be better than I am right now.
Yeah. Thanks, Emily. Andy Carlson.
Yep.
Yeah, Chad. Almost been on the council 6 years, and I've really come to appreciate you, just not for your professionalism, but just for your friendship as well. Not knowing what the hell I was doing when I started on city council, and you taking the time to walk me through everything, and always willing to take a bullet or two for me when someone was angry or whatnot. But just the fact that you've done so much for the city, and I can only imagine what Wanda has seen and what the city staff has seen, and I know the hours that you put in, and I don't think the general public realizes how much dedication and work that you do for the city, or have done for the city these last 9 years. We'll be lucky if we get someone half as good as you to replace you, and I just can't thank you enough for everything. And best of luck to you and Sally, and stay in touch and come back and visit.
Thank you.
Steve Luce.
Yes, I was able to attend the Municipal Securities Disclosure event and listen to a bunch of people talk about stuff that we got to be attentive to when we do those things. Appreciated the invitations to get to that. I had a SMID meeting last week that starting to go back to their regular monthly meetings, so that was a good establishment. Then want to thank city staff for the ability to shepherd Chad, and Chad shepherding all of the rest of us to do things for this great community. Good luck in the future, Chad.
Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Steve. Steve Zittegruin.
All right, yeah, I've got a couple things I'd like to say about Chad, but I'll save those for the rest, for like the last stuff I'm going to say. First, I just wanted to say it was nice to see Holiday Lights permit approval come across the desk this week. They do such an exceptional job every year, and it never seems like there's time to celebrate them in council session. So I'm so excited for what they do for our community. The second thing is I'm going to continue to urge my fellow council members to consider what benchmarks you would look for considering revocation of the face mask ordinance. It's an emergency ordinance. I don't think the time is right now, but I do think that we should have a plan for when the right time would be to give the people of this town something to look forward to and something to work toward. That's some motivation I think that would be welcomed by people, who would see that there'd be some social purpose to their continued safety measures and their vaccination rates. I want to encourage everyone who has a chance at getting vaccinated to do it. They are really great. They're well tested, they're effective, and they're safe. So please do that. On a personal note, I got my vaccine about a week and a half ago because of my work at the food pantry, and so far so good. I encourage people to follow that, and as soon as they're lucky enough to get an appointment. Because of that, I do intend to be rejoining council chambers starting in about a week after talking to the people I know who would know when that would be more safe. Finally, regarding Chad, I've only known you as a coworker for a couple months here, but it's been really great being introduced to this work by you. Your patience, your careful explanations, your ability to make sense out of things that are complex are all extraordinary talents that you no doubt will take with you wherever you go. But this city is lucky to have enjoyed them for the time that we have had them. I'm grateful for your work, and I certainly hope I can get up there to toppling Goliath. And maybe they should have maybe a $2.99 drink special so we can buy you a drink without flouting Iowa's public official ethics laws. Look forward to seeing you up there and wishing you well.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve. Ross? Anything on your end?
No surprises, Chad. It's been your mantra to me for as long as I've known you, whether it was through work on P&Z or here. And you've never, very rarely surprised me until this last one. I wish you and Sally well. I thank you for your dedication, and look forward to seeing you back and see the fruits of your labor continue to flower here in Decorah.
Thank you.
Steve Zittergren and I had a Zoom conference with Mark Lane this morning to discuss keeping things moving forward with the school. Mayor, I know you've also been in contact with him, but I think keeping the elementary school and the park rec needs to the forefront are important as well. So hopefully we can all continue working on that. Good. And I was also vaccinated, was able to leave town and get vaccinated because of being at risk, qualified in Fayette. I look forward to Winneshiek County moving on to the next level and more of us becoming vaccinated. It's really heartening to see the rates going down. And we've had, with prom coming, just from a personal standpoint, with proms coming and with spring break coming, I hope that everybody works to stay safe so that we can keep the rates down and continue to move to some of these more social situations successfully and safely.
Thank you. Kirk?
I just want to thank Chad for serving this community for as long as he has. And I think when I think of you, I think of integrity, honesty. I think of the hard work and the hours that you put in. You always go above and beyond, and your door is always open. Your telephone always gets answered or messages back. And we are going to miss you. And I hope that Burlington knows just how very lucky they are to have nabbed you from Decorah. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got just a couple things. I did attend the airport commission meeting, and we were in the new Raleigh hangar, which is was very well worked out and constructed, and I hope sometime you'll be able to see that as well. I did sit in on a conversation for Ethos. That's a new company that is going to be having an architectural presence here. was very interesting and exciting to listen to potentially some of the things that they could be assisted of, and I believe that there is another one scheduled. It's extremely important as we look forward to the projects at hand that we have guidance from an organization such as this or the next one to help us try and orchestrate all of the building initiatives that we're hoping to do and need to do. But it was very interesting to talk with them, and I'm delighted that they'll have a presence in Decorah for other people to be able to use their expertise as well. I did participate again about quarterly. We have Zoom meetings with all the mayors, which is extremely beneficial, and I've enjoyed that. I did listen in on the County Board of Supervisors today to Krista's report. I was saddened to hear that both her and her staff have received public comments negatively on the type of work that they have been doing. And I just want to put out there for people to be patient, to understand, and if you really don't know what's going on, to be sure you ask them. She did a great job of explaining why people are having to go, or I shouldn't say have the opportunity to go to other counties. It could be that there's a factory that gets doses, but people choose not to get vaccinated, or they're afraid of the vaccination. But what happens is that creates more vaccine available since there's time limits. And people from our county are able to go to different places to be able to do that. Also, there are pharmacies that actually get vaccines through another governmental program. So that makes it available for additional people as well. For Winneshiek, we still get 300. 100 of it goes to the medical center. 100 goes to Gunderson, and 100 goes to public health. And so it's a process of looking and sharing and being able to attempt to get vaccinations to as many people as they can and have arms for the vaccines that are available. So if you do go to another county, if you've been on the public health list, perhaps let them know that you've gotten the vaccine so they can give it to somebody else. And once again, I just encourage the public to be positive. This is not an easy job to work with. I don't think I have anything else? Okay. Thank you very much for a very busy and informative meeting.